Hey there, welcome to Culturally Sound. I'm here with James Ewens, e-commerce director at Green Feathers, a tech-savvy strategist dedicated to propelling online brands to new heights. James, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, what we normally start with an origin story. So, um, where you started, where you came from, how you got started in e-com, and what that looks like, and where that's going. So how did you get into it? Where did you start? Where did Green Feathers start from?
A long time ago, a very long time ago. So originally, I joined the group back in 2009, and it was my first role in e-commerce. It was my first understanding of the e-commerce space. Traditionally, I'd worked in retail environments prior to that. So I did 10 years at Dixon Stores Group, actually 11 years at Dixon Stores Group. So very retail focused my whole life, but specifically in e-com in that transition across to the Green Feathers Group back then. And really my story started there. I've moved around a few different roles during that time. I've left the group and come back. I worked on the agency side, I've worked on the tech side, and now I'm back running the brand. So yeah, quite a long story to get there. But first role in ecom was around product listing and product development. And back in the old days of Google, where it was relatively easy to make some changes to see immediate SEO improvement on Google. Getting to page one was a lot easier back then than it is now. There was a lot less of a dark art to it. It was kind of more logical. Obviously, it's not the case anymore. And then kind of progressed into more of the tech roles from that. So spent an awful lot of time integrating a completely new ERP within the group, kind of grew that ERP out, and then actually ended up leaving the group to go join the ERP that I implemented. So I went and worked for them for a while on the tech side. Um, and then, yeah, kind of went back into the econ roles afterwards. So, yeah, really started at the bottom with basic product listing, basic understanding, and yeah, now to the stage where we're running the whole team. So, yeah, like I said, quite a long journey. It's been 15 years now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, welcome back, I suppose. Um,
Yeah.
so that's kind of you touched on an interesting point. You mentioned that SEO was a lot more simpler back then. There's claims that SEO is dead, and it's all look out for AI driven and voice and all the rest. Do you have a perspective on that, or what's your take,
Uh,
particularly for e-com?
SEO, yeah, I mean, if you're ecom, SEO is definitely not dead, and I think people that say that might be predicting an AI-powered future that they're not quite aware of how that works. I mean,
Right.
I take offense to the word AI anyway, because it's
Okay,
not AI.
interesting.
Can we stop calling it AI? It's not AI. It's a large language model. It's an interpretation of data. It's not intelligence.
Hmm.
Um, I've kind of done my utmost in the past 2.5 years to not use AI wherever possible. I'm quite anti the idea of AI, um, which is weird when I'm in a tech role and my
Right.
passion is tech. It's kind of
Yeah.
averse to my to what I should think. But I think the problem is you've got a lot of people, and I don't mean this offensively, but it's going to come across offensively.
Oh
I
no,
think
please.
you've got a lot of people that don't understand tech and don't understand computing talking about AI like AI is this magical thing that's suddenly going to change our lives. Like
Mhm.
it, in some aspects, yes, it can. But until somebody can actually show me the practical application of ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever in an actual commercial sense, I'm not there yet. Like it's not ready for that yet. In my opinion, like there are certain usage of it, data analysis. I mean, data analysis is it's very good at because obviously it is an LLM. That's what it's designed to do.
Right.
So you can feed it a shed load of data and get some data back. Like, I mean, if you're a data scientist, I think you're in trouble. I think that's definitely one of the areas that AI is going to have a big impact on.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I think when it comes to speaking to your customers or telling stories to your customers, like
Hmm.
you as the brand are always going to be better at that than AI because you know more about your brand than the AI does. That's my opinion of where it is now.
Hmm.
In a few years' time, perhaps that'll be different. But right now, I think commercially, we're probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years away from AI being actually usable.
And so now, when you use the term AI, is this synonymous with LLM in that context, or do you feel um, like we're not even at AI and we're not apply like ChatGPT isn't AI and we're not applying it to our uses appropriately?
Yeah, I think we're not applying it to our
Okay.
uses
Okay.
appropriately. That's my opinion anyway. I think you can ask ChatGPT a question, that's brilliant, and it can go
Right.
use its LLM to go find an answer to that question.
Right.
In the same way that you can ask Google or Copilot or Gemini or Apple Intelligence when it comes out. Like I'm sure it's going to work in the same way, but that's not fundamentally, that isn't intelligence. That
Mhm.
is an interpretation of a language model, which is not intelligent by its actual design. It's not
Right.
intelligent. Right?
Just pulling
Um,
predictions.
it's pulling prediction, exactly. It's pulling
Right.
data,
Yeah.
and that's why I think if you were in a data scientist role,
Hmm.
um, I think that's really the niche group of people that are really in trouble. Obviously, narration, translation, they're all in trouble too.
Right.
But I
Right.
think specifically for e-commerce, the data scientist role, that literally can be replaced by what ChatGPT and Copilot are doing right now. So
So,
um, yeah,
couple of threads, not to interrupt you, but a couple of threads I want to
okay.
pull on there that are kind of interesting. Um, when we look at um, how we build out those models and how we apply them to e-com, like how is that relevant in your space versus um, other areas? And you sort of touched on um, you know your brand tells your story, which I'm 100% in agreement where everything is commoditized. Gary Vee's been saying it for years. Anyone has access, can take a product, take it to offshore manufacturing and create something competitive. It's commodity, but what the why behind what you sell, Simon Sinek's Golden Circles, that's really the value that you offer, and those relationships and those tangible human connections are where the value is. So how as a data scientist, they've sort of got to discover how they create that tangible human element in how they suss the data. But you know what's your perspective on that, and let's pull on that thread a little bit because that's really interesting to me, that human element that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we've kind of built Green Feathers almost entirely against that offshore element that's in the market.
Okay.
Um, there are lots of Far Eastern companies that sell a very similar product to us, right?
Okay.
We are a niche product, right? Primarily we're a bird watching brand. So we give you access to being able to see bird footage in your garden. That could also be hedgehog footage or fox footage or squirrels or whatever animal you might want to watch. But primarily we're bird based.
Okay.
There are lots of other products on the market that do similar things to what our products do. The difference with our product and the difference with the way we market our product is that you're buying from the people that design the product. You're not
Hmm.
buying from a robot in China.
Hmm.
You're buying from a UK based company with UK based staff with UK based design. And
Hmm.
yes, some of the product is manufactured in China because everything is, right. That's normal.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, um, but it's our product. It's not, we haven't gone and got an off the shelf thing that we're then reselling. It's
Okay.
our design, it's our R&D, it's our tech. And with our app, it's our app. It's a Green Feathers app. It's not a random app store app that happens to work with our cameras. It's designed for us.
Hmm.
So I think that the way you differentiate your brand is bang on what you said. Like you buy from a human, you don't
Hmm.
buy from a robot, you buy from a human. And how you tell that story to other humans and how you get buy-in from other humans, that's where the value of your brand is.
Hmm.
And yes, China can come and bring a a carbon copy of our product to market, and they might be able to sell it cheaper than us. In fact, they almost certainly will be able to sell it cheaper than us, but they won't have the story, they won't have the why, they won't have the the idea of why the product exists in the first place, right? Like that's the difference between buying from a brand and buying from China, in my opinion,
Okay.
anyway.
So we kind of dove into it here because you made some interesting comments that I sort of pulled on. But let's pause for a moment. Let's talk about what Green Feathers is, what it offers, and look at how you're building that humanity back into the product to be able to compete on value rather than just strictly price. What does
Yeah,
that look like to you?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's this has been our journey for the last 2.5 years, really.
Okay.
Yeah, so Green Feathers is primarily a sustainable purpose brand. So our idea is to get wildlife back into your garden, and that's
Nice.
either a small garden in a flat in London, or it could be a full-on manor house with 20 acres of land and a forest. Like
Okay.
we can work within whatever boundaries the customer brings to us. We do a lot of work with various different wildlife trusts. We do a lot of work with charities, so hedgehog charities and bird-based charities. We
Mhm.
work with WWT, which are the Wetlands Wildlife Trust, which are like the kind of authority on wetland birds in the
It's like
UK.
Ducks Unlimited stateside, that kind of thing.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
same idea. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly the
Okay.
same.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then we've also worked with museums like Natural History Museum as a
Hmm.
good partnership that we worked with. So our idea is to try and get people to care about wildlife in their garden, and that could start from the lowliest pollinator all the way up to getting a kingfisher back in your garden. I know kingfisher's unlikely to come to a garden,
Sure.
but you
Sure.
get the
Sure.
idea. If you lived
Yeah.
in
Of
enough
course.
land,
Yeah.
you could get a kingfisher, right? So the idea is to try and bring that interest back in wildlife, and
Mhm.
the point of and it's a bit of a buzzword is rewilding. Certainly in the
Right.
UK, I don't know if it's caught on quite in the US in the same way yet, because I guess you don't have the same rewilding problem in North America like we do over here.
It's a little bit different as I
A little bit
have
different.
5 deer in my yard right now. But yeah,
Yeah, it's,
no, exactly. It's
yeah,
but I think in an urban environment, regardless, I
yeah,
think, being able to create that experience in that environment where it's safe for that interaction, I think is incredibly interesting and important. So yeah, please
yeah.
do continue.
Yeah, so that's the idea of the brand. The idea of the brand is to encourage people to care about wildlife in their garden again. And the way that we do that is by offering habitats, so
Hmm.
bug hotels, bee hotels, hedgehog houses, bird boxes, bird of prey boxes, owl boxes, like basically you name it, we probably do it.
Okay.
And then we provide the camera technology to be able to then enjoy that content. So yes, you can put up an owl box on your garage at the end of a garden, but unless you can see inside the owl box, there's no real enrichment from that. Like you might get the occasional viewing of the owl leaving the box, or maybe you'll hear some noises for some chicks when they're nesting or whatever, but you don't get that full interaction of what's going on inside the box. So the kind of monetization side of our business is the idea of then saying, okay, you fitted the box, that's amazing. Now, how about you look at what's inside the box?
Hmm.
And then it becomes the next step, which is if you've invested in the camera, chances are you're going to invest in the idea of getting a bird into that box. So then you might want to do a bird feeder, or then you might want to do a pollinator, then you might want a wildflower flower meadow. So it's that whole ecosystem of encouraging wildlife back into your garden and then monitoring it. And we figure if you're going to the depths of setting up a camera and trying to monitor it, then chances are you're going to care about it. So that, like I said, that's the journey that we've been on for the last 2 years. Is it primarily 2 years ago we just sold cameras, and that was fun. That was a good little business. But what
Hmm.
we've done over the last 2 years is really diversify and start to go, okay, why would somebody buy a camera? Why would you want to buy a camera? And then we start bringing in the companion products that expand that reach to allow people to start thinking about what the next steps are after buying a box or a camera.
Hmm.
And that's been
And
the journey.
so how do you I mean, that sounds endless, right? So how do you
Yeah.
maintain focus on what the core business is? Like, how do you create those boundaries for your team to say, yes, this is in scope. No, that's out of scope. Maybe that's, 5 years down the road. Like, what does that look like for how you manage your team?
Um, we kind of don't, is the honest answer.
Okay.
We don't really care about the scope because we allow our customers to tell us what the scope should be.
Okay.
So a lot of the products that we've brought on and a lot of the packs that we've created have been at the request of a customer.
Mhm.
And chances are we've already thought about that idea, or one of the team members have already thought about the idea. It's on a Trello board somewhere. Sorry for the Trello shout
No, no,
out.
no.
It's on a Trello board somewhere, and that idea will be held until we get enough time to develop it, or until a customer comes to us and says, "Actually, this is a gap in your range. You should probably do this." So
Okay.
a lot of the hedgehog growth, again, over the last 2 years, the hedgehog's been the largest growing sort of sector for us.
Interesting.
Um, and that's really led by customers saying, "Oh, could we have a feeder? Oh, could we have some hay? Oh, could we have some hedgehog food? Oh, could we put a bowl down?" And so the expansion of hedgehog products here, we've gone from 2 hedgehog products to like 50. And that's primarily led by customers asking us for those items. Um, but also, I think like by not putting a sort of scope on the team and allowing the team to have creative ideas themselves, we kind of encourage the buy-in from everybody to have an idea, put it on a board, then we discuss it. Yeah, maybe that idea will be for a year or 2 years down the line, but at least we've listened to that idea and taken it on board, and it sort of it encourages and empowers our staff to have these ideas to then think about how they would do them. And so it's not just the leadership team saying we're going to do this. It's we've got these 10 ideas. Which of the 3 ideas do we want to do? And then we can discuss that as a team. So we don't really have a scope as such. We kind of just react to what customers are telling us and then what our staff come up with.
So, I mean, traditionally, that approach is viewed as unsustainable, right? Because you build out so many SKUs, it's hard to, how do you hold inventory? How do you manage that growth and that scale? And so that's kind of an interesting use case to explore a little bit. How do you like how do you manage the proliferation of SKUs and products and client interest and maintain strong brand growth when there isn't like how is that path defined? I guess would be the question.
I think this is the big advantage of selling niche products
Okay.
versus selling a wide range of products in a non-niche sector.
Hmm.
So in a previous life, I worked in furniture. So
Okay.
um, the furniture market, for example, that's not niche. It's not, everybody buys furniture, right? So it's really easy to build a business plan. Well, not easy. Take that back. It's easier
Sure.
to build a business plan. It's easier to say what is our scope, and you can define your scope really easily on a traditional brand.
Sure.
If you're niche, I think that opens up more opportunities for doing weird and wonderful things. And yes, that means that your SKU library does increase. It means your stock holding probably will increase, but you're not looking for thousands of sales on those niche products. You're looking for two or three. And
Hmm.
so actually your stock holding is then five or 10, not 5,000, right?
Right.
So it actually becomes relatively easy to have a very low inventory. And for us, we keep 60 days inventory in stock. So we're not forecasting out 3 years in
Yeah.
advance, something stupid.
Right.
We're
Right.
60 days. We have a very fast turnaround. And so if we hold 10 of a niche product in stock and we sell five, we buy five more. Like it's quite,
Got it.
although the SKU library has grown massively, it's actually not too difficult to manage because we've got really, really fast turnaround with our suppliers.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that we create is created by us. So one camera as an example, our main Wi-Fi camera, that
Hmm.
goes with 47 different habitats, right? So
Right.
stock wise, I only need to stock one camera,
Right.
but then I need to stock the habitats, and so
Mm.
again, if I sell five habitats, I'll buy five more in. Like it's actually not too difficult, but that's again, I suppose that is the advantage of niche products versus mainstream products, right? That we have that flexibility to not hold billions in stock, and also I think with the niche product as well, we kind of put everything at a slightly longer turnaround than we can actually achieve. So we kind of always overpromise to our customers. Our customers
Right.
don't need a hedgehog box tomorrow, right? Like that's
Right.
not nobody's waking up in the morning and saying, "Oh my God, I need that hedgehog box tomorrow," right? It's not a dining table or a bed or a sofa or something, right? So or a TV. It's a bit easier to have a lead time.
Hmm.
So if you say to a customer, "Yeah, that's 2 weeks away, it's handmade, we've got to make it for you," sorry about that, but that's what we can do.
Right.
Like generally speaking, customers are fine, like because they're buying from us, right? That's
Yeah.
the
Right.
service level that we've set. So
Right.
yeah,
So you're ordering the components, bringing them in, and then manufacturing and assembling domestically.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, not particularly an interesting conversation unless you're in the world of SKU management and product procurement. So interesting nonetheless. Tying all of those in and having maybe reusable components and being able to scale that out based on, if you're building it out of a natural habitat, presumably many of your habitats are interrelational and you can reuse a lot of that material across the board, which also makes that a sustainable method. So kind of an interesting take on things that, initially I was a little skeptical, but I mean that's quite brilliant and very interesting, to be perfectly honest. So now let's extrapolate up. So we sort of opened with your origin story, and then we talked about AI not being AI, being LLM, and then um, creating that ability to humanize and you know decommoditize your product offering because you're hand manufacturing. Everything's going to be unique. It's not going to be the same. And we touch on the you know something that I think is lost today is with Amazon and the immediate gratification, having that suspense and having to wait for something. It kind of creates that inherent value in what you're receiving. Is that intentional on your side, or how do you look to integrate that or weave that in?
It's a little bit intentional. We do make a big deal of everything, certainly with the habitats of being handmade. We do go out of our way to say that.
Mhm.
Most of the habitats are available on a next day delivery on Amazon still. So we still kind of cater to that
Mhm.
immediate gratification. We appreciate Amazon's Amazon, right? If we're not on
Of
Amazon,
course.
we have a problem. So
Yeah.
seller fulfill prime is a thing. We work with FBA, same as everybody else does. Like there's nothing specific about our Amazon business, but
Mhm.
um I think the element of weaving in the handmade works better on the channels like Etsy and on our own website where we can tell the story of how something's been made. Nobody really cares on Amazon, like frankly, people just want to get the product and get the gratification, as you
Right.
rightly said. But for some of the other channels like Etsy and like our website, we can start talking about the story and about how the wood is all recycled and it's FSC and all the different things that we can say about handmade products. We can do that, and that's the audience that we really want to cultivate. Like we appreciate that we have to sell on Amazon, but actually what we want somebody to do is buy the first time on Amazon, go, oh, this product's really good. I'm going to go search for green feathers and then buy it directly from us next time. And actually, to be fair, if they buy it a second time on Amazon, I'm still kind of okay with that. I'd rather them buy from us, but I'm glad
Sure.
that they're buying another product. So if they do that on Amazon, so be it. But the idea is that we want people to buy into that story. And so most of what we do around that story is the social media presence. So my co-director Chris and myself will frequently be in our Instagram videos and our TikTok videos. We talk about our products. We talk about why we've done our products a certain way. Certainly on some of our more unique products, like our solar camera, that's totally unique on the market. It's nobody else does what we do with that camera, and that's taken us, again, 2 years, 2.5 years of product development to build that product. And we were probably 6 to 8 months late to the market, but we think our product is so much better that actually it's worth that 6 to 8 month wait to be late and not be first.
Mhm.
Um, and that story is weaved through the website and through our social presence and through the other channels, like I say, like Etsy, where people are more uh, are more caring about getting a handmade, slightly more bespoke product. And as you said, a handmade bird box, that they're never going to all be the same, right? There's always going to be a slight tolerance difference in between them. And that's kind of part of the charm of buying a handmade product, right? Like you have specifically gone out of your way to buy a handmade product, not buy a product that's come from a wood factory with an unknown source that's been built by a
Sure.
robot, right? That is kind of inherently that is the story, right?
Hmm. Hmm. So now the evolution of the product, it being customer driven, really interesting. How do you go about getting that feedback? What does that look like? And then how do you integrate that into your team and conceptualize what that product's going to be as you roll it out? What does that evolution look like? And how does your team management come to play there?
Yeah, I mean, the Green Feathers exists because of customers. Like we didn't have the idea of rolling out Green Feathers. We were initially a CCTV company, so we sold
Interesting.
security cameras.
Right.
One of the cameras that we sold was a small little pinhole camera with night vision, and it's a very, very small camera. And one of our security customers put it in a bird box, and when this was 7 years ago, maybe longer than that, 8 years ago, they put that small camera in a bird box and went, guys, this is a really good product. You should sell this. And we went, yep, that is a really good product. We should do that. And that evolution of the wildlife camera, that was the first wildlife camera we did. And that evolution of the wildlife camera, as well as the change in the CCTV landscape, um, it sort of naturally progressed from that initial customer feedback of this is a really good idea to what we have now. And we've always been led by what our customers tell us. So I think the first important thing is that you've got to have an engaged team that really buy into the product and the idea of the product and the idea of the brand. And I've said this a few times when I've been speaking to people about the brand, but like Green Feathers isn't a sales brand really. It's an idea, it's a hobby, it's a lifestyle. It's more than just a product, right? And if your team are bought into that, then when you have a customer ring up and go, I've got this amazing Tony Owl box. I want to put a camera in it. I want to put a camera inside of it. That excitement that a customer has, if our team are like reciprocating that excitement, then the customer's way more likely to send us footage and call us up and say, I've done
Right.
this, it's really cool. Here's the footage, right? And then you might get that third conversation with the customer might be, do you know what would be really great is if it did this. And then we go, okay, cool. That's one customer that said that. That's a second customer, a third customer, a fourth customer. And then when you get to 10 customers that have said that, then it's an idea and then it
Right.
evolves. So you've got to have an engaged team that really
Hmm.
buy into the idea of the brand, which we're very fortunate. We've got a great team here that really do buy into it. And you've got to have customers that are passionate about what they're doing. And again, it's really easy for us. We're a niche product. You're not waking up in the middle of the night thinking, my goodness, I really need a bird box camera. Chances are you're
Right.
probably interested in the idea of a bird box camera, and we just happen to be the people you can buy it from. So I think the delivering great service, communicating with your customers, having people that when they are communicating with customers really care.
Hmm.
And a testament to that, if you were to ring, and I challenge people to do this, please don't troll me here, but you can do. But if you ring the Green Feathers sales line, not right now, obviously we're recording a podcast, but in most
Sure.
normal cases, you
Yeah.
will get me or Chris, or one of our sales guys, like Mark or James, on the phone.
Right.
So you don't speak to somebody who's not involved in the business, you will speak to us, you'll speak to the
Hmm.
directors. We care about our product enough that we want to get on the phones and talk to our customers. So I think that if you lead from the top down with that example, then your team will also follow along behind that. Um, and that's what we've done here. That's been a big change over the last sort of 18 months, has really been getting me and Chris more involved in the sales strategy and more involved in the phone call, so we can hear firsthand from the customers what they're saying and then share ideas and suggestions with the rest of the team once we've had a phone call.
And so what inspired that change? You said that changed about 18 months ago. What was it before? What pushed for that engagement from top-down management leadership?
I think what changed is that we felt like we had lost some of the direct communication with our customers. We had a sales team. We had I think at one point we had four, maybe five sales guys in our team. And we became a bit disconnected from the customer. And I think that was one thing that we we really lost. Although we were still involved in the social content, the website content, we were doing a lot of work there. I think we'd lost that final, that final 5% of just being on the phone with the customer and listening to what they've got to say. So I think putting us back in that environment has been massively beneficial. And if you look at the new product launches that we've done this year, they're all customer led. They're all, I've bought this. You could do a better job with this. Why don't you build one yourself? Okay, cool, we can do that. Um, yeah, and again, don't need to product drop, but the bird feeder we've just launched. There are lots of plastic bird feeders on the market.
Hmm.
Inherently, it's plastic, thus it's not sustainable. Like straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Also, plastic is really hard to clean.
Hmm.
So with a bird feeder, you're really supposed to be cleaning that every 2, 3 weeks, maybe, as the feed drops. Um, Plastic feeders you'll never get properly cleaned because they're plastic. That's inherently a problem with them. And when the camera dies, you have a camera that's built for that feeder. If you can't get that camera anymore, then your plastic feeder, where's that going to go? It's going to go in the
Hmm.
bin. And then
Hmm.
suddenly you've got more landfill on a product that should literally last for life. That's the whole purpose of a feeder, right? So our wooden feeder was really born off of the back of several customers saying, I've bought a plastic feeder, I've put one of your cameras in it, it doesn't quite work, it's a crap feeder, can you do something better? And we knew we wanted to do one, but we waited until the point that we had enough customers asking for it that we then launched it. So we had that direct feedback with our customers by us being involved in the calls then. So that was really that 5% of communication that we wanted back in the management team.
Hmm. Hmm. And how do you inspire that with, like, as an organizational culture where it sounds like that retention marketing piece, or that client communication piece, don't buy from us once, buy from us 2, 3 times. We'll continue to build products that you want, just let us know, talk to us. Is that tied into your marketing? Is that tied into your team? What does that look like culturally, as you grow, scale, and build out?
Yeah, so it's tied into our team. It's not something we do enough of in our marketing space, to be perfectly honest. And that's primarily driven by me because I'm a bit skeptical still of the importance of email marketing. Obviously, it is important, like we have to do it, but how far does somebody read down a marketing email really? Like you might get the first top of the fold, maybe if somebody's really paying attention.
Mhm.
But chances of somebody scrolling down far enough to see the come talk to us and give us feedback, that it's a lot harder to get that message across on an email or on a social post or a Facebook ad or whatever. So we don't really try very much there. But what
Okay.
we do try with is having the engaged team and the team asking every single phone call, what could we do better? What could we have done to make this experience better? And on Trustpilot, the same thing. On the reviews platform we use called Stamp, same thing. We're constantly asking our customers, okay, cool, thank you for your feedback. How could we make this better? And that just becomes part of the culture. So by by teaching people to do that, it becomes part of their day job, and they do it without even thinking about it now. And that's culturally that's led from top down, but also then it's also because we involve our team with everything we do. So we're
Hmm.
a very open and honest business. When we're developing our product, it goes through all the team members, and when we're rolling out a new piece of tech, that goes through all the team members. We tell them what the plan is, we tell them how we're going to do it, we get feedback from them. And so I think if the team feels like they're bought into the business decisions, then it's quite easy for them to roll that same logic out to the customer relationships that they build. So and then our old sales team was very good as a sales team, but perhaps one of the things that they lacked is that sort of empathy with the customer or the care, I guess, with the customer to go and do that extra 5% or that 10% of just speaking to the customer and saying, what can we do better? Uh,
Right. Staying curious.
Staying curious. Yeah, that's a really good. Yeah, I'm going to steal that. Staying curious is
You go right
exactly
ahead.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so evolution, next 5 years. Where do you see Green Feathers going? How is it? What's new and exciting on the horizon? Obviously, we're not integrating AI into any products. What does that look like for you?
Actually, for AI, we've done a bit of a
Oh,
tongue-in-cheek
here we go.
AI. So what we've done, if you buy a bird box package from us, and with a box and a camera, we give you a forest garden and park bird guide. And we've called it AI, but we've called it actual intelligence because the idea is that you have a little booklet, and
Sure.
as the birds visit your garden, or if you're in a park walking around, you can take your little guide with you, and you can tick off your birds as you see them. So
Mm,
we've kind of tongue-in-cheeked it with AI. We're not going to do any AI image
sure.
recognition or anything, but we would like to encourage people to get their kids, go out in the park. What birds can you spot? Go to a river. What birds can you spot? Look in the back garden. What birds are in the back garden? How many birds are frequent visits to that? And all that stuff. So we have kind of taken a bit of a tongue-in-cheek AI approach, but yeah, we quite like actual intelligence. We're probably going to use that more in the future, but that's our
Yeah.
kind of response to it. But yeah, the growth for green feathers really is it's the US market. We did quite a bit of business with Amazon in the US midway through last year. Um, Selling in the US when you're a UK business is quite complicated. Mr. Trump didn't help us very much with the Trump tax there, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're trying to work out ways that we can get back into the US in a slightly larger way, and ideally to not do it with an Amazon or with a Walmart, but to do it
Okay.
ourselves. So
Okay.
um, greenfeathers.com is on the horizon, and that will be the kind of big growth pool for next year. And I think the idea is in time as that US department grows, we'd like to get a team out in the US. We'd like to have an office in the US and really create a US presence because the bird watching market in the US and Canada as well. I've got to stop saying just US. I mean North America.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Um, the North American market is so massive for bird watching. And again, a lot of the product that is in the US right now is not sustainable. It's not. I'm not going to say it's not a good product because some of the products are good, but it's not as good
Sure.
as our product. Our product is better. So the idea is to try and to break into that US market in a larger way than we have before.
Hmm.
Um, and then really new product wise, it's down to what our customers say. The next development on our roadmap is a pond camera. So the idea of putting a camera in your pond so you can see a fish. You would not believe the number of people that want to see into their pond. Um, it's a little bit of a weird one for me because surely you could just go out and look in the pond, but apparently people didn't do that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, pond cam is quite a big one for us. That's going to be a really big thing. And then I think the other growth area is working with conservation projects. We've done a bit of work in various different places in Africa, um, but trying to give back a little bit more to the wider wildlife community. We've worked on a few really random projects with penguins and tigers and lions and all kinds of different crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
I think the idea of trying to give back a little bit into the wider world, while also telling our story for as you said, the urban environments that we sell into predominantly. I think giving back a little bit more into the wider world of nature is going to be a quite big thing for us in the next couple of years, and that's going to be driven by the US growth.
Right. Right. Wow. I mean, interesting, exciting times ahead. I'm very curious about you know, I suppose, and I'm no expert in the space, but the the rapid drop in just wildlife species, the rapid drop in oceanic species, and everything that's going on there. I don't have numbers at arm's reach on what that looks like, but I have or do have an understanding around it's at a steep decline, and the variety of species and the amount that are going extinct, are just it's scary, right? And being able to participate in that and try to, you know, slow, stop, and rebuild that side of things, through initiatives such as this, I think are extremely important, and interested in getting involved. If there's ever a way that I can participate, James, please, let me know. Um, you'd mentioned that you'd met your hero and it didn't suck. We often hear, don't meet your idols. Um, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my personal life is quite kind of a little bit at odds with my business and wider beliefs, but
Okay.
I've always been a car guy. I'm looking on your shelf, which we can see there,
Yeah.
next to your Be Kind sign. So I've always been a car guy. I've always, cars have been my hobby and my passion since I was 12 or something. Love Formula One, love sports car racing, love IMSA, like, yeah, it's my thing. And I kind of grew up with my dad, who was an enormous rally fan. So I kind of grew up, Colin McRae era WRC, Richard Burns WRC, but my track car is a Subaru. So I've kind of been around that Subaru journey my whole life. But
Yeah.
I was very, very fortunate. I've met him a couple of times now, but I was very, very lucky to spend some time with Ken Block before he passed. And
Oh, wow.
Ken is like my hero. Ken is like the guy I look up to, not only for his amazing skills at driving a
Yeah.
car, which is, I mean, but also look what he did with DC in his business life, like
Mhm.
Hoonigan, like his entire life has just been success after success, it seems like.
Yeah.
And to go and meet him and spend time with him. And I was very, very lucky. I met him at a Gymkhana event in the UK. And I had a Colin McRae book. It was like a Nicky Grist co-wrote a story on like Colin McRae's life.
Mhm.
Nicky Grist was his longtime co-driver.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize how much I knew Ken liked Colin, but I didn't know that like Ken was influenced by Colin quite as much as he was. So I probably sat with Ken for, I don't know, 3 hours and just spoke about Colin McRae and Subaru and the lifestyle and how it all built. And yeah, I spent 3 hours with him once. I spent a couple of hours with him at another event, and he's just, I mean, it's obviously ridiculously sad that he's gone way too soon, but
Yeah, totally.
um, to spend time with him and just be in his presence was, like I say, I think lots of people say meet your heroes, and it's disappointing, but in my case, it was definitely not. It was the coolest time that I've had. It was just an amazing experience, and yeah, he signed loads of stuff for me. I'm very fortunate. I've got lots of Ken Block merch. So yeah, I got some really cool signatures, got some really cool photos. Yeah, he's just really cool. And that his business journey, like not just as a rally car driver, but his business journey of what he did in his life is just, yeah, okay, he may have got lucky a few times, but some of the things that he did and turned into businesses, like whoever would have thought that Hoonigan could be a business? Like the video about shooting cars, doing silly things, like that becomes a lifestyle brand and becomes enormous. Like what?
It's
So yeah,
it's the humanity, right? It's the who he
humanity.
is, and it all tied it together, right? And I mean, even
Yep.
the name of it tied into what it represented, right? It's just strange, unique, not usual type of, and it just carried across the brand, and there's just unity, right, throughout all of it, and I think, you know, I I don't know, if you get lucky, right? I think you're prepared and you're curious and you're open and you're in a position to not say no, and those things, I don't know if they just align, but um you're ready to take in that opportunity, right? And he was just always ready to take in that opportunity, and how often did he say no? I don't know him personally, but it sounds like not very often.
It very much sounds like not very often. And you kind of touched on it a little bit then with the, be open to opportunities. And I think your sign above your head is like really perfect. It's like you're humble, you work hard, you be kind to people. And I remember like one of the things that he said in one of it was one of the Gymkhana files on Amazon. There's a point of like, how do you become successful? And he said, don't be an asshole. Excuse my French, but
No.
that's literally that was his mantra. His mantra was
Yeah.
just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
And that's had quite a big impact on how I deal with people, because I think now, like, if you treat people with respect and you're humble and you listen and you learn, then doors will open. And I think that's possibly what happened with Ken, is that he was
Mhm.
just a nice guy that had some money and was in the right place at the right time, and he was open to those ideas, and that's led to the success that he had.
Mhm.
And seeing it with his daughter now and his wife, like obviously Leah's racing in Europe in the F3 cars and the academy,
Yeah,
and she's also rallying. Like, I mean, what a
exciting,
legacy, man!
exciting to
Like,
watch.
it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, incredible.
yeah, yeah. No, well, I mean, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad I asked. And I totally agree. I mean, tragic that that he's not with us. And I mean, I mean, entertained. What an entertainer. It just
Yeah.
it's incredible. I've loved this conversation. I love your perspective. I love what you're looking to do and create. Um, where can we find you? Where can we engage with Green Feathers? What does that look like?
Yeah, green-feathers.co.uk, and then Green Feathers Instagram, where Instagram's our primary source of social media. We're not massive yet, but 12,000 followers in the last year, so we're up to 27K now. So
Great.
big growth over the year. It's been a big focus. So if everybody would like to go follow us on Instagram, that would be much appreciated.
Sure.
And me personally, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere you'd expect to find me, but my predominantly business life is posted on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts? Any comments?
No, I don't think so. I think we started big on AI. I've probably upset a lot of people with the AI at the start of the conversation, but I do just think we're people who are believing in AI being the future of e-commerce for the next 3-4 years are in a dreamland. Like, they really are. It's not a thing yet. When it's commercially viable, 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, then I think it's a thing. Being on the train early is okay too, but don't
Yeah.
don't put your entire business on the idea of AI being the future, because it's not AI.
No,
Stop.
I love pontifications. It's interesting to see where they go and how they evolve. So, I'm also a big fan of unpopular opinions. So, I think that's one of the biggest things in society today is that we're so afraid of discourse. Just because we don't agree doesn't mean that I don't like you. It just means that I just don't agree. Let's talk about that. I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear your opinion. Not saying that I don't agree with your opinion on AI, just saying that I'm glad that you shared the perspective, and I look forward to hearing any objections to that. So thank you for that
I'll
position.
be ready for the hate mail.
I'm sure that won't happen. But James, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you. We'll have all of your points of intersection within our show notes, and look forward to talking with you again. Thanks so much.